Previously on Stern Show Summer School.
You know the only reason I'm doing the show, right? Because Rastan's hot.
I really do kind of look at myself as like a Van Gogh figure on the show.
You're a psychiatrist's wet dream. You're delusional, insecure, egomaniac.
I'm going to be talking the entire show about one of Rastan's favorite subjects, the Beatles.
I have Tennis Channel to watch tennis. Who cares about a pickleball tournament?
This jackass needs to shut it. Moonwalk back to Buckland. You don't know what you're talking about.
You guys need a win.
Yes, we know.
A new Stern Show Summer School starts now.
Howard 101 presents A Hard Look with your host, John Lieberman.
This is A Hard Look. I am John Lieberman. From the streets of Baltimore to the streets of Baghdad, I have been there. I have dug deep. I've investigated the stories that mattered. And now we have this, A Hard Look, the place where news is made and stories are explored based on key moments from the Stern Show. It is Sunday, the storied home for important journalism, and now it's our home. Thank you for welcoming me into your weekend, because there is so much at which to take a hard look.
This is a tease.
Just because someone has more money does not entitle anyone else to that money, especially as it pertains to wedding gifts.
That's right. In a moment, your rich BFF, Vivian 2, joins me to break down all the recent Stern Show conversation on wedding etiquette and exactly how much Howard should be forking over to his betrothed staffers. But first,
Editorial note.
This week, all coverage of Sal's spiritual journey is being underwritten by hot dogs.
I was breathing and trying to concentrate, and I just got this whiff of like hot dogs.
Hot dogs get a whiff of us. Now to the headlines.
Stern Show headlines.
Dirty QWERTY. Howard took typing lessons in high school.
Sports report.
Formula shun. Ronnie rejects his invite to the SXM F1 Vegas suite.
Breaking news.
Father knows best. Will did not buy his wife a Mother's Day gift, pointing out, quote, "She's not my mother."
A hard look. Harder look.
Last week, Howard was thrilled to welcome influencer Alex Earl to the Miami studios, and we all got a kick out of her "Get Ready With Me" TikTok.
I like Alex.
She was great. She was great.
Yeah. Alex even did a Get Ready With Me video where she prepared to come on the Howard Stern Show.
Oh.
I recently got ready for this show's move to Sundays. Let me share that with you now.
A hard look at us.
First, I use contour makeup to highlight my nose for news. Then, I change the oil in the microphone, flip my steno pad, and give the end of my pencil a quick lick. Then I go to work with my Cronkite's Best Press Badge Polish, discount code in my bio. And finally, I consult my MLA style guide and let David Muir know that the bathroom is all his.
On the scene.
For months, my friends, the issues surrounding staffers' weddings have made big Stern Show storylines. Not just the will he, won't he of Howard attending the Mund ceremony, but even the suspicion that some employee invites amount to a shakedown for a gift from Howard.
You know whose wedding I got invited to?
Who?
Steve Nowicki. Steve, what are you looking for a gift? What do you want? I mean,
no
cash.
Gift.
No.
Please.
Come on. Just do me a favor. The one thing you could do for me, just tell me the amount you want, and I'll mail you a check. What's a good amount? What would you say?
In your category? Probably $2,500.
Shit, I was thinking more like $1,500, but maybe you're right.
We had to get to the bottom of this ceremonial ransom. So what did I do? I sat down with wedding and social finance expert Vivian 2.
Breaking news. We have a guest.
Yes, that Vivian too, the 28-year-old TikToker behind Your Rich BFF. She has nearly 2.5 million followers. She's posted about all things finances and guests and weddings, and she is here now. Vivian, good to talk to you.
Thanks, John. Thank you so much for having me.
Let me start with this. Should guests talk amongst themselves prior to the wedding they're going to about what sorts of gifts they'll be giving?
Yeah, I think there's certainly no harm in having conversations about what you're gifting the happy couple. Same way that I have certainly texted people to be like, hey, what are you wearing? If the dress code is a little questionable or I'm not 100% sure. I think it's also a really great opportunity that if you are not in a financial position to purchase one item on the registry yourself, or if you want to go in on a larger item, talking amongst yourselves ahead of the wedding is a great idea.
So we have a staffer, Ronnie the limo driver, Ronald Mund. He's getting married in Vegas coming up. He's marrying a woman nearly 4 decades his junior. Many people are coming in from out of town of all ages. So first of all, what sorts of gifts should the local guests consider giving in terms of dollars and cents?
In terms of dollars and cents, I think it's not so easy as to be like, oh, if you're local, you spend this much, and if you're traveling, you spend this much. However, you had mentioned Ronnie and his bride are quite different in terms of age, so it's potential that their guests are quite different in age. And what I would say is that if you are a second cousin once removed, or a coworker, it's okay to give $75. Whereas if you are a close family member or a super close friend, you might want to consider something closer to $150.
Is there any etiquette, Vivian, around what the couple should do with the money they receive from their guests? Meaning, should a couple, for example, save that money to use for long-term care insurance, let's say, if you're in your 70s, or should you spend that money on things for your home? Give me a sense of that.
Yeah, that is entirely up to every individual couple. I think a lot of couples do rely on these registry gifts to help fund their honeymoon these days, or to help fund furnishing their first home together. But that's entirely up to you. And if you already have all of that furniture because you've already been living together and you already have your honeymoon paid for in points, feel free to use that money for your long-term financial goals.
Stern Show staffer Steve Nowicki also has a wedding coming up. It was recommended that Howard Stern send a gift of $1,500. Now, Howard will most likely not be attending. Steve is an employee of Howard's for all intent and purposes. Your thoughts on Howard being told to send a gift of $1,500?
I think that does feel a little high, a little bit ludicrous, perhaps just because of who Howard is. There might be an expectation of, oh, this person, is very well-to-do. They should send a larger gift. And I don't think that's necessarily a fair assumption. I think just because someone has more money does not entitle anyone else to that money, especially as it pertains to wedding gifts.
Tell people how they can keep up with you, how they can follow you, and anything else you're working on.
You guys can find me as Your Rich BFF across social media, or you can check out my podcast, Net Worth and Chill, wherever you get your podcasts.
She is Vivian too. Vivian, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Moving on, upon the recent crowning of a new British king, the king of all media had this to say.
Oh, we got to talk about that coronation. I mean, England's got to get a grip on themselves. I understand maybe it brings in tourism, but Jesus H. Christ.
To get a grip on the ceremony's cue cards, the dresses, and a chorus of I Love Vagina Camilla, I got in touch with royal expert Kinsey Schofield. Here's our monarchical one-on-one.
Breaking news. We have a guest.
Howard has questions about the royals and the coronation, and you have found the right place for the answers because Kinsey Schofield is a Royals expert. She is the host of the To Die For Daily podcast and someone you may have spotted recently in England. Kinsey, good to see you.
John, you know I'm a huge fan of yours, so I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, first of all, are you tired? You have been doing this cross-country thing. You were at the coronation. How are you feeling?
I am pretty exhausted, and I would expect to be this exhausted if it were Prince William, but I'm surprised that people are so excited and interested in King Charles.
Yeah, so let me ask you, why are Americans particularly so interested in this?
You know, I feel like we are kind of enthralled by the patriotism in the UK. Everybody uniting behind a figure. I feel like our politics are kind of polarizing here in the States. To see an entire country rally around a symbol, I think we're kind of interested by that. We're interested in the fact that everybody will stand in the rain for 3 hours to celebrate one man. I don't know if we'd ever do that here in the United States.
And we're going to get into the weeds of the celebration in just a second, but tell the audience, Kinsey, how you got so interested in the royal family.
I was a morning news anchor, and I noticed that I kept sneaking stories about the royal family into, even in New Orleans, Louisiana, I kept sneaking stories about the royal family into my headlines. And I just decided that that's what I wanted to pursue. It was a lighter topic. It was a happier topic. At the time, it's gotten pretty dirty over the last few years, but I was just tired of covering like shootings in the French Quarter. So I thought this would be a fun pursuit. I've loved Princess Diana since I was a little girl, and that's kind of what I've built my brand around. And wow, what a great choice that I made. I mean, I have a blast getting to spend so much time in London, and there's a lot of glamour and glitz involved. So I think I made the right choice.
Oh, absolutely. And editor's note, and I don't even think you knew this, Kinsey, but Meghan Markle and I attended the same university for our undergraduate work, although I don't want to give away my age, but she actually, I believe, started 2 years after I graduated. So now you know that, Kinsey. All right, let's get to the coronation. You were there. Howard thought England spent too much on it. Some are putting the price tag at $125 million. When you were there, did you witness $125 million of pomp and circumstance?
I mean, I witnessed $125,000 of street closures, which made me quite hostile. But yeah, I think that at the end of the day, Charles certainly tried to pull back from what his mother had spent for the Jubilee and even the country, what they spent for the Queen's funeral. You know, he cut back on the procession route. He insisted on recyclable and recycled invitations that were sent out to people, although an e-card would have been fine, Charles. I think they called it a low carbon coronation. So he did go out of his way to cut costs. He did go out of his way to not be as obnoxious. And I think that a lot of people wanted to see pomp and circumstance, but they saw kind of pomp and stability. And I don't know if necessarily that excited a lot of people. Poor Prince Louis was yawning throughout the entire thing. It's also very important that they brand this man a respectable figure that everybody rallies around, because if they don't, you know, he's constantly going to be compared to the Queen. Those are huge shoes to fill.
So you use the term respectable man. Let me ask you this. The music played as King Charles arrived. What was your reaction to that music, and was it commensurate with this idea of respectable men all around?
To me, the music was one of the most important parts of the ceremony. In fact, it's kind of what kept me glued to the ceremony. But I understand if people were watching that aren't familiar with everything royal. I do understand if they sat back and thought, what is this? But
Howard thought it sounded like the Kentucky Derby bugle that they play at the beginning of the race.
Well, he's got a great sense of humor, and I understand. I understand completely. But they do have to set a high bar, and they do have to put on a show. And sometimes it's a little over the top. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but King Charles did theater. They thought he should be an actor when he was younger. He is a little over the top and showy, and I'm sure that he absolutely loved it. And I'm sure he loves the idea of comparisons to the Kentucky Derby because he's got a good sense of humor too.
I want to play you a quick clip from Howard because Howard thought the king should have spent more time with all this lead up memorizing his speech.
You know, he's known this has been happening for months. He didn't bother to remember one thing.
Everyone was reading cue cards. The Archbishop, him, everyone.
Yeah, I know. His whole life he was preparing for this, and he didn't bother to learn his part.
Your reaction?
I actually said the exact same thing as I was watching it. You know, you've had 70 years to prepare for this. What are you doing on a typical Tuesday? It did feel a little cringe to see all of them reading from these cue cards. Technology has improved, my guys. It did feel like they could have done it any other way to try to keep up with the world. But watching these people that we're supposed to consider higher than us or more important than we are, reading cue cards, it's hard. It's a hard thing to swallow.
What do you think the Queen would have thought of the ceremony?
Well, first of all, I mean, I hate to, I'm not throwing any shade or whatever, but the Queen did say prior to her death, months prior to her death, that it was her goal that Camilla be the Queen consort. This is after we were told, however many years ago when Charles and Camilla got married over 2 decades ago, I believe, that Camilla was, maybe it was 17 years ago, that Camilla was going to be the princess consort. She would never be queen. And that was told to us when Charles and Camilla announced that they were going to get married, because ultimately they wanted the approval of the public. So they said, don't worry, she's never going to be queen. That was supposed to go to Diana. She's only going to be princess consort. The Queen comes out months before her death and says, it would mean a lot to me if you would make Camilla the Queen consort, not the princess consort. The Queen passes, and then Charles decides he just wants her to be known as the Queen. Now, allegedly, this has upset everybody, even as close to Charles as his sister and Princess Royal, who supposedly said to Camilla at a dinner party, you are not the Queen, you are the Queen consort. So I do wonder how much the Queen would have approved of every single detail, because you are seeing Charles making some decisions that we know were against the Queen's wishes, like the change in title.
Kinsey, there has been speculation worldwide about what the choir was actually singing during Camilla's coronation. Here's what Howard had to say, and then I want to get your reaction.
A choir was singing Vivat Regina Camilla, but it really sounded like I Love Vagina Camilla.
Vivat Regina!
Well, it certainly sounded strange. I don't think I didn't hear that specifically until Howard Stern said it. Now, there are a lot of these going around. I think it sounds like a lullaby. How nice, how delicate, how nice. But I think that that's one of the funniest parts to come out of the coronation is everybody sharing that video and interpreting what they actually heard. It's Latin, it's interesting, it's funny. Probably not Camilla's favorite part, but certainly fun for you and I to sit back and laugh at.
Kinsey, where can people keep up with you?
The To Die For Daily, the To Die For Daily podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and todiefordaily.com.
She is Kinsey Schofield, fresh back from the coronation in England. Kinsey, thanks so much for your time. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
This week, Howard and Robin explored the idea that one's generation can be determined by how they text, with Robin pledging to de-age her messages and a 16-year-old caller telling Howard she, quote, lets autocorrect take care of the apostrophes and shit, unquote. Well, IMHO, this youth-obsessed culture has me SMH. IDK where the idea arose that one does not need grammar, FTW. BTW, OGs like me, see NP with a VM to ask WYA and say BRT, but ATM, I'm NGL. I'll SMS to stave off FOMO, FOMO, OMG. IG, this would save SM time, so NVM. TLDR, TTYL, but HMU and LMK If you agree, RN, because ISTJIYKYK. And I, for one, my friends, do not K. Probably because I was born in MCMLXXVI. Want me to say that again so you can take your pencils out and figure it out in Greek? MCMLXXVI. And that, my friends, is your Sunday Sendoff. I'm John Lieberman reporting for A Hard Look. BRB next Sunday.
Are you craving something delicious for dinner? Well, come enjoy mouth-watering pork at Delabate Hog Barbecue. You're gonna love it. Take it from one of our biggest fans.
That fucking hog, that fucking Delabate hog.
And thanks to our loyal customers, we've been able to serve Long Island for over 30 years.
Yeah, that Delabate hog is still going strong.
Indeed. Plus, our delicious food is served up in generous portions.
How big is that Delabate hog?
Let's just say you will walk out of here satisfied.
Like you got that Delabate hog.
And a shout out to our loyal patrons who have helped spread the word.
You guys know I love hog talk, especially when it's about that Delabate hog.
Delabate Hog Barbecue, off the Turnpike, exit 9. Come see what quality tastes like.
Delabate Barbecue, see what quality tastes like.
I might have a slight obsession with your hog, bro.
So how many hours would you say in a day you spend out in the sun?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm out there. I'm in the shade. I'm in the sun. I'm in the shade. I'm in the sun because we have like a patio area that's enclosed, but it's not. It's enclosed, but it's not enclosed. Like it's all shade. Let's put it that way.
And now, the Rappies honor Rasan with a look back at 2022.
My name is Rasan, so it's Rashawn, it's Rashad. I guarantee you today, someone will fuck my name up.
Oh, that sucks.
Rashawn, thanks for taking the call.
Razan.
And you're listening to the Howard Stern wrap-up show with Gary and Rashawn.
But understand, Rashawn, let Rashawn take a step back and listen to yourself.
Oh, finally somebody that agrees with me.
Yeah, I agree with Rashawn.
That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my...
This morning you heard Beth talk about how she was on a walk with Howard, asked for a sign from Ralph. A cardinal walked out of a bush, showed himself, and then walked back into the bush.
Oh, Mama Monday. Mama Monday. Oh, Mama Monday goes down and
Hey, no disrespect to the cardinal, but lazy as fuck. Why don't you fly around a little bit, put on a little bit of a show?
It's a smooth Mama Monday. Smooth Mama Monday. Smooth Mama Monday. Smooth Mama Monday.
Do I look like someone who's familiar with the Talking Heads catalog? I know Psycho Killer. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's all I know.
Very early.
Mama Monday, yeah. Mama Monday. Ba 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 ba.
Rasan, we all know the best award show start with a great musical number, and this is one of the best award shows. So, ladies and gentlemen, here to kick off the 2023 Rappy Awards is OAR frontman Mark Roberge.
Another year wrapping up the king. Yeah. Every year my song cover everything. Yeah. The petty details will be explored. Yeah. Nominated for our fake awards. It's the Rappy. Listen if you feel like tipping should be a
what a performance. Ladies and gentlemen, give a lot of love to my guy, Mark Roberge.
I wanted to take advantage of this forum to just give a little love to Fred Eric Norris. Everyone, including me, adores Fred and his drops and the soundscapes he creates. But so often, his little additions, they go by so quickly that they don't really get their due. So here are a few that caught my ear that I wanted to highlight in a piece I'm calling
Appreciating Fred.
Appreciating Fred. This week, Howard brought up a vengeful Johnny Carson, and right away, we got this soundscape.
TV was much better when everyone hated each other. Johnny Carson would fuck your wife. You know what I mean? He'd go to a party and like, oh, whose wife is that? Oh, it's Merv Griffin's. I'm going to fuck her.
Well, you know, remember they wouldn't say ABC, wouldn't say CBS, CBS wouldn't say NBC. It was like they didn't exist.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, John. Well, I'll have you know I am on the Finny and the Mini. Finasteride and minoxidil, but if you're gay, you say it differently. And I feel like I have no shame about like telling people that I'm taking drugs to figure out my hair. I feel like people should be dyeing everything and anything they want to. If you feel like dyeing your pubes makes you feel sexier, 100%. But then also, okay, I do stand up a lot about being into older guys. And so like, I love gray hair. Gray hair is sexier than people realize. And people are so scared that when they get their gray hair, people are going to stop talking to them or whatever insecurities that we have. But really, everyone's going to want to sleep with you. People love the touch of gray. You have like a nice, young professor vibe going on. If you're young and you're taking Just for Men, it sounds like you're a heterosexual man who cares about what he looks like, and nothing is sexier than that. Mehmet, live your life. You're doing gorgeous. Ignore the haters. Back to you, John.
GGNT with Sonia and Blake. Good game. Good game. Good game. Good game. Good game. Good game. Nice try.
I want to see who's in this studio.
Messing with our chairs.
Ever.
Who's been in the studio? And what have they done to my chair? Did Hardin and Weaver mess with our levels? Did Trumbull and Core disrupt our phones? Did Ken Beatrice steal all our bagels? AM 6:30.
It's so inside, but it's so good. You've got to be a Washingtonian for the Beatrice references and the Trumbull and Core and the Hardin and Weaver. That's sent to us by John Crotteau.
When I was 22 years old, I moved to Manhattan without a job or a place to stay. And so I spent most of my time at the 24-hour internet cafe on 42nd Street. And you can go back about 10 years ago. It was before the ubiquity of cell phones, and not everyone had a computer and things like that. And so I spent my days looking for a job, sending out emails, searching websites. And I got a lead one day. I got an email back with this recruiter saying, give me a call later on today, and we can have a conversation. So I went to get his phone number and write it down. I realized that I didn't have a pen with me. I looked around. This place was essentially like a homeless shelter because it was unmanned on 42nd Street. It's since closed or burned to the ground. And so I started to panic because I needed to remember this number. So I said it over in my head a couple times and ran out into the street to find a pen. And I went to a newsstand. They didn't sell any pens. I'm looking around. There's no one who has a pen. So I stumbled through the crowd in Times Square to the CVS that's there. And on my way in, I see that the lines at the counter, the register, are like 8 and 9 people deep. It's just, there's so many tourists. And I head over to the pens. I see my like $1 Bic. And I think, like, do I really want to grab this pen and wait in that long line and risk forgetting the number? I'm like, it's just $1. So I reach and do this thing that I think is really cool because I'm 22. And I, like, flip the pen up into my coat and, like, walk out like this. I'm just going to steal this pen. And I get to the door, and the security guard there steps in front of me and he is thrilled. I mean, he has me. He's like, what have you got up in your sleeve there? And this is the first time I'd ever been a criminal, so I don't know what you're supposed to do. I gave it up right away. I was like, I stole a pen, but, let me give you $1. I'll give you $2, or I'll give you $5 in the store $1. He said, no. And he said, you're mine. He's thrilled that he's got me. And he says, first of all, want to see how I caught you? And I'm like, okay, I'm playing along, just hoping he'll make this easy. So he pulls me behind his podium, and he's like, see here, there's a lot of great technology here. You know, I have a joystick here. I can control the camera. See, that's me. I can zoom in on the pens. That's how I got you. And it's pretty thrilling. So you were caught. I was like, okay. And I said, can I just go now? He said, oh, no. I have to process you. So I go with him back into the security lounge. You can imagine how terrible the security lounge at the CVS in Times Square is. And he sits me down and he says, now there's a process. I have to take 3 Polaroid photos of you holding up the item you stole. One is going to go in my personal folder. The other is going to go in the store folder. One is going to get sent to CVS corporate, where it will be photocopied into a manual that is put at the front desk of every CVS in the country, so that each security guard across the United States can recognize my face and not let me in. He starts taking photographs. I'm holding the pen. The first one, we're waiting for it to develop, comes out blurry. Second one's kind of blurry. Third one comes out. Fourth one, he's out of film. So he goes out, he says, hold on 1 second, goes out onto the floor of the CVS, grabs a pack of Polaroid film, which clearly is way more expensive than the pen would have been. And while he's gone, a janitor comes up to get his broom. And he's just going, your parents must be really proud of you. How much did they spend on your college education? Really proud. I'm humiliated. He takes the rest of the pictures, and he says, the final step here is that you need to sign an affidavit. It's like an order that says I will never get within 30 feet of a CVS for the rest of my life. It's no joke. He pulls the form out. He pushes the restraining order across to me and says, you have to sign it right here. It says you agree. And I was not trying to be funny. I was like, I don't have a pen. So he opens up the package of the pen I'd stolen and recently gotten my picture taken with. He slides it across the table. I fill out the form. And just casually, like anyone would do, just put it in my pocket. He asked me if I learned my lesson. I swore I had. And I walked out of that CVS with the pen.